November 6th, 1944. Over Germany. Captain Chuck Yeager is hunting. He's flying a P-51 Mustang, the best propeller fighter in the American arsenal. Fast, maneuverable, deadly. But today, it doesn't matter, because what he's hunting is faster than anything he's ever seen. And Me-262, the world's first operational jet fighter. Yeager spots it, a silver dart cutting through the sky at over 500 miles per hour. 100 miles per hour faster than his Mustang. Armed with 4 30mm cannons that can shred a bomber with 3 hits, the future of aviation, untouchable. Every Allied pilot knows the math. You cannot catch an Me-262 inches level flight. You cannot outrun it. You cannot outclimb it. If the jet pilot sees you coming, the fight is over before it begins. He accelerates. You watch him disappear. Yeager has chased jets before. He's lost every time. But today is different, because today, Yeager isn't chasing the jet. He's waiting for it. The Me-262 is descending, coming home, low on fuel. The pilot lowers his landing gear, extends his flaps. His speed drops from 500 miles per hour to 150. He's 3 seconds from the runway, 3 seconds from safety. Yeager dives, 400 miles per hour, guns blazing. The Me-262 pilot never sees him coming. The jet erupts in flames. It crashes short of the runway. The pilot is killed instantly. Yeager pulls up, flies straight down the enemy runway at 50 feet, and escapes into the German countryside. Anti-aircraft guns fire. They all miss. That night, Yeager writes in his report. His words are matter-of-fact, clinical. But years later, he'll admit the truth. It wasn't very sportsmanlike. But what the hell? All's fair in love and war? Sportsmanlike. That word. That uncomfortable word. Because what Chuck Yeager did that day wasn't just kill an enemy pilot. He exposed the fatal flaw of the most advanced fighter plane ever built. He proved that technology alone doesn't win wars. And he demonstrated a tactic that would destroy more German jets than every dogfight combined. It's a tactic that raises uncomfortable questions. Is it honorable to shoot a plane when it's landing? When the pilot is defenseless? When he's 3 seconds from safety? The answer depends on whether you're asking a fighter pilot or a philosopher. This is the story of how obsolete propeller fighters beat the jet age. Not through courage, not through superior technology, but through ruthless, calculated, devastatingly effective strategy. This is the story of the flight path that Allied command never officially acknowledged, the tactic German pilots called murder, the approach that destroyed hundreds of Me-262 seconds on runways, taxiways, and final approach. This is the story of how the P-51 Mustang killed the future, one landing at a time. And it begins with a question no one wanted to ask. If you can't beat them in the air, where can you beat them? Summer 1944. Allied pilots start seeing something impossible. Silver streaks in the sky, faster than anything they've ever encountered. They appear, they strike, they vanish. No one can catch them. No one can even get close. Intelligence reports come back. Messerschmitt. Me-262. Twin jet engines. Maximum speed, 540 miles per hour. Armed with 4 Mk108 30mm cannons. Rate of fire, 650 rounds per minute. A 3-second burst can destroy a B-17 Flying Fortress. Allied pilots are flying P-51 Mustangs, the finest propeller fighter ever built. Maximum speed, 430 miles per hour, 110 miles per hour slower than the jet. In a dogfight, that difference is everything. The first encounters are devastating. Me-262 seconds slash through bomber formations. Destroy 3 aircraft. Disappear before the escorts can react. American pilots try to intercept. They fail. Every time. The energy tactics that work against German prop fighters are useless. Dive on an Me-262? It accelerates away. Try to climb with it? It's already gone. Turn fight? The jet pilot just flies straight, pulls ahead, and vanishes over the horizon. The math is simple, brutal, undeniable. In a fair fight, the P-51 loses. This is the nightmare scenario. Technological obsolescence. Your best weapon is no longer good enough. The enemy has leapfrogged an entire generation of technology. Jets versus propellers. It's not a fight. It's a slaughter waiting to happen. Allied command is panicking. If Germany can mass-produce these jets, if they can field hundreds of them, the daylight bombing campaign is over. The B-17 seconds will be massacred. The war will drag on. More years, more deaths, more destruction. The P-51 squadrons receive their orders. Stop the jets. Protect the bombers. Do whatever it takes. But how do you stop something you can't catch? Someone in intelligence notices something. Me-262 seconds have to land eventually. Jets burn fuel at an extraordinary rate. Faster than props. Much faster. The Me-262 has a combat radius of about 120 miles. After that, it needs to return to base. And jet engines, they're temperamental, unreliable. They require long, paved runways. You can't operate in Me-262 from a grass strip. You need concrete. You need infrastructure. You need specific, identifiable airfields. There aren't many of them. Intelligence knows where they are. And then someone asks the question, the uncomfortable question, the question that changes everything. What if we don't fight them in the air? What if we attack them on the ground? The idea is controversial. There's an unspoken code among fighter pilots, a remnant from World War I. You don't shoot a man when he's bailing out. You don't strafe parachutes. You don't attack aircraft during landing. It's not honorable. It's not sporting. It's not how gentlemen fight. But this isn't World War I. This is total war, and the stakes are millions of lives. The orders come down, discreetly, unofficially. Find the Me-262 bases. Watch them. Wait for takeoffs and landings. Strike when the jets are vulnerable. It's called airfield interdiction, runway harassment, combat air patrol over enemy territory. The pilots know what it really is. It's ambush. It's assassination. It's shooting the enemy when he can't shoot back. And it works. October 7th, 1944. A P-51 pilot named Urban Drew is about to prove just how well. Lieutenant Urban Drew is flying top cover over Germany. His mission is simple. Patrol the area around known Me-262 bases. If you see a jet, kill it. He spots the airfield below. And then he sees them. 2 Me-262 seconds on the runway, engines screaming, beginning their takeoff roll. Drew doesn't hesitate. He pushes the stick forward, drops from 2,000 feet, dives straight toward the runway at 400 miles per hour. The first, Me-262, is accelerating. 50 miles per hour, 100, 150, still on the ground. The pilot is focused forward, watching his instruments, waiting for rotation speed. He never sees Drew coming. Drew opens fire from 300 yards, 650 caliber machine guns, 72 rounds per second. The tracers walk across the runway, into the tail, into the fuselage, into the cockpit. The canopy shatters. The pilot bails out at 160 miles per hour, tumbles across the concrete. The Me-262 veers off the runway and explodes. Drew pulls up. banks hard, lines up on the second jet. This pilot has seen the attack. He's still accelerating, trying to get airborne, trying to reach safety in the sky where speed is his advantage. Drew fires again. The jet is at 190 miles per hour, almost flying speed, almost safe, almost. The rounds punch through the jet's thin aluminum skin, through the engines, through the fuel tanks. The Me-262 disintegrates in a ball of fire. Two of the most advanced aircraft in the world, destroyed in less than 30 seconds, before they ever left the ground. Drew climbs away, files his report. Command reads it, and suddenly, airfield attacks become standard operating procedure. Intelligence identifies every Me-262 base in Germany. Lechfeld, Brandenburg, Munich-Riem, Akmer. The P-51 units receive updated target lists, flight paths, patrol patterns. The tactic is refined, perfected, weaponized. Fly low, below 100 feet. Radar can't track you. Flak can't predict you. Stay fast, stay unpredictable. Circle the airfields like sharks. Wait for the jets to land or take off. Strike in those few seconds of vulnerability. During takeoff, the Me-262 is slow. Engines are still spooling up. The jet burns through fuel just getting airborne. The pilot is focused on instruments, on keeping the temperamental engines from flaming out. He's not looking for threats. During landing, it's worse. Gear down, flaps extended, speed reduced to 150 miles per hour. The pilot is exhausted from the mission, focused on the runway. He's seconds from safety, from fuel, from rest. That's when the Mustangs hit. The German pilots know they're being hunted. They know American fighters are circling their bases. But what can they do? They have to land. They have no choice. Some try evasive maneuvers during approach, jinking, weaving. It doesn't help. It just burns more fuel, makes the landing more dangerous. Some try to extend their approaches, come in from unexpected angles. The Mustangs adjust. They're patient. They can loiter for hours. The jets can't. February 25th, 1945. The 55th Fighter Group intercepts an entire Me-262 squadron returning to base. The jets are low on fuel. They have to land. Now, the Mustangs are waiting. 6 Me-262 seconds approach the runway. The first one touches down, begins to decelerate. A P-51 drops from the clouds, guns blazing. The jet explodes on the runway. The second, Me-262, tries to land. Same result, destroyed before it can taxi. The third pilot realizes what's happening. He tries to pull up, go around, find another airfield. His engines flame out, fuel exhaustion. The jet crashes 2 miles from the runway. 3 more, Me-262 seconds destroyed in the traffic pattern. Pilots killed, aircraft wrecked. The most advanced fighters in the world, reduced to burning scrap metal on German concrete. The German High Command is desperate. They deploy Bf-109 fighters as escorts for their jets during landing. Think about that. Propeller fighters protecting jets. The technological future being babysat by the past. It doesn't work. The P-51 seconds outnumber them, outmaneuver them. The escorts are swept aside. The jets still die on approach. And then there's Chuck Yeager. November 6th, 1944. Yeager's patrolling near an Me-262 base. He spots a lone jet, returning from a mission. The pilot is lining up for landing. Gear down, flaps extended, 150 miles per hour, 3 seconds from the runway. Yeager is at 6,000 feet. He pushes the nose over. Vertical dive, 400 miles per hour. The Me-262 pilot doesn't see him, doesn't know he's there. Yeager opens fire from 400 yards. The jet's canopy disintegrates. The fuselage erupts in flames. The Me-262 crashes short of the runway. The pilot dies instantly. Yeager doesn't pull up. He dives lower, flies down the enemy runway at 50 feet. Anti-aircraft guns open fire. Tracers arc toward him. He jinks, left, then right. The gunners can't track him. He's too low, too fast, too unpredictable. He escapes into the German countryside, flies home, lands, files his report. That night, sitting in the officers' club, someone asks him about it, about shooting a jet on landing approach. Yeager shrugs, takes a drink, thinks about it. It wasn't very sportsmanlike, he says. But what the hell? All's fair in love and war. Sportsmanlike. That word again. That uncomfortable, nagging word. But here's the thing. War isn't a sport. And in 1944, with the Third Reich collapsing, with millions of lives hanging in the balance, with the fate of civilization at stake, honor was a luxury no one could afford. The tactic worked. It was brutal. It was ruthless. It was effective. And it destroyed the Me-262 program more effectively than any dogfight ever could. Let's talk about numbers. Cold, hard numbers. The official record shows that P-51 Mustangs claimed 93 aerial victories against Me-262 jets during World War II. 93 dogfights where the prop fighter somehow managed to outmaneuver, outposition, or outluck the jet. Those victories are impressive. They're the ones that make it into the history books. The dramatic dogfights, the impossible shots, the lucky deflections. But they're not the whole story. Not even close. Because for every Me-262 shot down in the air, 5 more were destroyed on the ground, on runways, on taxiways, during takeoff, during landing, sitting in revetments, parked on aprons. Germany produced approximately 1,400 Me-262 seconds during the war. 1,400 of the most advanced fighter aircraft ever built, jets that were faster than anything the Allies could field, more heavily armed, more technologically sophisticated. At no point were there ever more than 200 operational Me-262 seconds at the same time. 200 out of 1,400 produced. Where did the other 1,200 go? Some were destroyed in Allied bombing raids on factories. Some crashed during test flights because the engines were unreliable. Some were lost to mechanical failures. But hundreds were destroyed by airfield attacks, by P-51 seconds circling German bases like sharks, by American pilots who understood that you don't have to beat superior technology in a fair fight. You just have to deny it the conditions it needs to dominate. The Me-262 needed long runways. The Allies attacked those runways, cratered them with bombs, strafed them with machine guns, made them unusable. The Me-262 needed fuel. The Allies destroyed fuel depots, bombed refineries, cut supply lines. The Me-262 needed time. Time to take off, time to land, time to refuel and rearm. The Allies denied them that time. Every second spent on the ground was a second of vulnerability. And the Mustangs were always watching, always waiting. By the spring of 1945, the Me-262 program was crippled, not because the aircraft was flawed, but because the infrastructure supporting it was systematically destroyed. Not because Allied pilots could beat jets in dogfights, but because they didn't have to. This raises an uncomfortable question. Was the tactic fair? Was it honorable? The rules of aerial combat, such as they were, came from World War I, the age of the Red Baron and the flying circus, gentlemen pilots in silk scarves. There was an unspoken code. You didn't shoot parachutes. You didn't strafe ambulances. You didn't attack defenseless aircraft. But World War II wasn't a gentleman's war. It was total war, industrial war, a war of annihilation where cities were firebombed and civilians died by the millions. German pilots complained that airfield attacks were unsporting, cowardly, murder. Allied command pointed out that Germany had bombed London, Rotterdam, Warsaw, that the Luftwaffe had machine-gunned refugees on roads, that the Third Reich had murdered 6 million Jews. In that context, shooting jets during landings seemed like a minor moral compromise. The Germans responded by fortifying their airfields, building concrete bunkers for the Me-262 seconds, deploying fighter escorts, camouflaging runways. None of it was enough, because the fundamental equation hadn't changed. The Me-262 was faster in the air, but on the ground, it was just another target. And the P-51 Mustang was very, very good at hitting targets. By May 1945, when Germany surrendered, the jet age had arrived, but it had been grounded by propellers. Technology had lost to tactics. The future had been killed by the past. And the lesson? It would echo through every war that followed. The P-51 versus Me-262 story teaches us something uncomfortable about warfare, something that challenges our assumptions about technology and innovation. Superior technology does not guarantee victory. Let that sink in. The Germans had jet fighters in 1944. Jets. They had leapfrogged an entire generation of aviation technology. They had aircraft that were untouchable in the air, and they still lost. Why? Because technology is only as good as the strategy that employs it. The Me-262 was revolutionary, but it had vulnerabilities. It needed long runways. It burned fuel at an extraordinary rate. It required extensive maintenance. Its engines were temperamental. And most critically, it had to land eventually. The Allies identified those vulnerabilities and exploited them ruthlessly, systematically, without mercy. This principle has repeated throughout military history. In Vietnam, the United States had overwhelming technological superiority, advanced aircraft, precision weapons, satellite communications, and yet, guerrilla tactics and tunnel networks frustrated American forces for years. In the Gulf War, the opposite happened. The coalition didn't just have better technology than Iraq, they had a better strategy. The war began not with ground invasion, but with airstrikes against Iraqi airfields. Destroy the enemy air force on the ground. Establish air superiority before the enemy can react. It's the same playbook the P-51 pilots wrote in 1945. In modern warfare, this principle is doctrine. The first target in any conflict is enemy air bases. Runways are cratered. Hangars are destroyed. Aircraft are hit before they can take off, because military planners learned the lesson of the Me-262. It's more effective to destroy aircraft on the ground than to fight them in the air. It's cheaper, it's safer, it's faster, and it works. But the legacy goes beyond military tactics. It's a lesson about innovation itself. The best weapon is not the most advanced weapon. The best weapon is the one that exploits the enemy's vulnerabilities. The Me-262 was a technological marvel, but it was designed for a war that Germany was no longer fighting. It needed infrastructure that the Allies had systematically destroyed. It needed fuel that Germany no longer had. It needed time that the Reich couldn't afford. Innovation without context is just expensive engineering. There's also a philosophical question here, one that makes people uncomfortable. Chuck Yeager called his Me-262 kill unsportsmanlike. Was he right? Should there be rules in war? Lines you don't cross? History suggests that such rules are luxuries, privileges of nations that can afford to be magnanimous. In 1944, with millions of lives at stake, with the Holocaust raging, with the fate of civilization hanging in the balance. Honor was a concept that belonged to peacetime. War, at its core, is about winning, not about fairness, not about honor, about survival. The P-51 pilots who circled German airfields were not cowards. They were realists. They understood that you fight the war you're in, not the war you wish you were in. And they understood something else, something that echoes across decades of military history. Your enemy's greatest strength is often their greatest weakness. The Me-262 was fast in the air. That speed required fuel, infrastructure, and runways. Take away those things, and the jet becomes a liability. An expensive, complicated, vulnerable target. So here's the final image. A P-51 Mustang circling a German airfield at 100 feet. Throttle set, guns armed, waiting. Below, and Me-262 lines up for landing. Gear down, flaps extended, 3 seconds from safety. The Mustang pilot doesn't hesitate, doesn't question, doesn't think about honor or sportsmanship or the rules of warfare. He thinks about winning, and he does what winners do. He adapts, he exploits, he survives. The jet age is coming, but not today. Today, the propeller still reigns, and the future burns on German concrete. That's the legacy of the illegal flight path. Not technology, not innovation, not even courage, just ruthless, uncompromising, devastatingly effective strategy. And in war, that's all that matters.